So back to the actual agenda. We have minutes, warrants, and payrolls that we'll approve. We can sign them and work our way through. They were all distributed by Frank, so if there are questions about them as we're working through to do the signatures, we can do that now. But certainly we can wait for folks to be ready to go. Any questions on, let's do the minutes first. Thank you to Kim. Did everyone see the minutes that were distributed along with the agenda for April 5, 2019? Yes. I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I move we accept the minutes.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Changes, amendments, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so those, and then the warrants and payrolls, they will work their way through. Were there questions on the warrants and payrolls based on what you saw on the materials distributed by Frank?
We did just, on the 5/22, after I had sent the agenda, I did send that out to you, so, and that is in your
Okay.
package as well, so it should be added to the minutes if you do approve it.
5, yes.
It's May 22, yeah.
So, remind me, do we just need to sign the cover?
Just the top.
Cover one and not
Just the tops, yeah.
So that was just for warrants, or there were payrolls
There
for
was just
5/22 as well?
Warrant, just warrant.
Okay, very good. Hearing no questions, request a motion to approve the warrant for 410, 424, and 58, and the payroll for 412 and 426.
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We still don't have a clerk. So does anyone, while they were deep thinking about WSCSU between April and today, think they would like to be the clerk for the Finance Committee? Or, maybe we table it until after July 1 in the fall meeting, because most of us will be gone by then.
Can we volunteer Jody since she's not here?
We could. We tried to do that at the last minute, and then we chickened out at the last minute. But, since we don't know what the structure of the Finance Committee will be under the new merged district, maybe it's better to, because I'm happy to do the minutes until, well, this is probably my last Finance Committee meeting, since with the merged structure, there'll only be one Vernon representative on the.
To say it's not you.
No, I'm sure it won't be. All right, so I'm going to table or at least postpone the decision on the clerk. So that leads us to, thank you. Hi, Paul. And this, number 5, WSCSU Finance Committee structure. So as you all know, the AOE, BOE, someone in Montpelier approved the waiver for the full district board, 5 members, so 4 coming from the Brattleboro, Putney, et cetera side, and then 1 coming from our side. So as of July 1, or at least the next time this committee meets, there will only be 5 members to the district board. And so the question will be how does the charge and responsibilities of the Finance Committee get handled under that new structure? So I didn't know if we wanted to have recommendations for the full board, or just bring up the question at the full board meeting. The options are the full board takes on the responsibilities of the Finance Committee, so they just meet more often in the fall when they have to do budgets and such. Or there's a subset of the 5-member committee, maybe 2 and 1 or something like that. There's 3 instead of 5. I mean, at a minimum, there'd have to be one and one. One from this side and one from Vernon. If we needed representation from both sides of the district, of the supervisory district.
So you're asking if the 5 members of the SU board, how many should be on the finance?
Well, no, I'm just, I mean,
Yeah,
though,
I-
I guess, yeah.
That, I mean, that's what you're looking for.
I mean, you know, Jody made the joke at the last meeting that there would be 2 people, one from each side, who would do the work of the finance committee, which, you know, I think is an issue on a number of levels. 1, 2 people doing all the approval and the review and all of the things that the finance committee does. So,
I wonder if it makes more sense to move to a structure where the SU committee essentially is the finance committee. So you've got those 5 people, and they do the work that the SU group does, and that the finance group does. Just to have a smaller than 5 is pretty difficult to get, you know, people to show up occasionally for quorum, and representation gets tricky.
well, it's true, if you have 3 and, yeah, that's right.
One doesn't show, yeah. So-
Right, and it's
Any less than
the
that.
Vernon side or something.
Do you have a sense of the volume of work that the SU will be doing after post-merger?
We'll still have the presentation, like we do every fall, of the WSESU, the special ed.
So it's the same budget?
Right, so you know that sort of fall where we're meeting every week and hearing from each of the different groups, that will still take place because that's still under the WSESU umbrella.
I mean, to me, what makes maybe sense is, I don't know if this is heresy, get rid of the finance committee. I mean, again, on the town boards, again, I mean, when I was on the town board, we didn't have committees, and so the budget was developed by the full committee. And I imagine that's the same with the towns, though, you know, those will be no more. But just, I mean, to have, I don't know, at 5 for the full board seems to be a good size to run through these things. And then 3 would be a quorum if there were issues. I mean, because to have 3 present to 5 people, I mean, now there's 6 that present to 18 people, and that's more of a presentation, to have 3 to present to 5 or 5 to present to themselves. So maybe it's nostalgia back for the old days where there were town boards, but to have it in that method. And then with the televising, then maybe there'd be more participation from the public as we hit these $18 million budgets. That'd be my recommendation, is either, I guess it would be to get rid of the finance committee, and since the committee itself would be so small. It's a thought anyways.
Any other thoughts? So Carrie, I don't know if you're going to bring it up at the full board meeting, or
We
when
can.
we get the finance, or, you know.
Yeah, or when we talk about the waiver,
Okay.
that would be a natural segue.
Okay, very good. All right. I have one other item under other. So a question came up during the work on the superintendent's evaluation, that there is a requirement for the superintendent to periodically go see the doctor and have a physical, just like President Trump. And so I just want to say that Lyle has verified that she has recently gone to have a full physical and had a clean bill of health, so we will note that in the minutes. All is good. Are there any other items for the Finance Committee? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Very good. We're adjourned at 5:54. Thank you, everybody.
going. I'll call us to order at 6:02. Katie, you're our clerk, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yay. All right. I don't think there's anything to add to the agenda. Yes, it's on here. Yep. All right, so we'll start with clerk's report. Approval of minutes of April 4th. Would anyone like to move the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any questions, comments? If not, all those in favor of passing the minutes of April 4th? Aye? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? All right, minutes are done. Communications. So the State Board of Education passed our waiver request. So this was at their May 15th meeting. So as of the establishment of the Wyndham Southeast School District, so on the day that school district becomes effective, the SU board will now be one from each member town. So Brattleboro, Putney, Dummerston, Guilford, and then one from the Vernon district. So I would expect that we need to work this into agendas for the merged board. Once that meets, it goes on your agenda to choose, and I'll take it back to Vernon to pick our member. And then it seems like we are gonna have to have some discussions about finance committee, and how we do that. Is there a time that it is best to put this on a calendar, or?
I would like to give the new merged board a few meetings under their belts. They've got huge agendas, thinking about some other things. But we should probably, I'm looking at Christina because she's the new chair. We should probably do that before July 1, so possibly at the June 19 meeting.
So that will take care of the choosing of the 4 board members there. I can put it on the next Vernon agenda so that come July 1st, we'll know who we're dealing with. Then, when that group meets, when the new 5 meet, should we discuss committees and structure? Okay.
The finance committee was just talking about what that will look like, and if it'll be the full, this full WSESU board will now operate as the finance committee, so that is a discussion that we'll need to have.
Okay, so we can put that on the new SU agenda.
Yes.
And then I would also just say it might be nice for anyone who is on this current board, when it becomes the new board, keep coming to meetings, because we might need to point at you and say, we need your expertise. Do you remember what happened 3 years ago? We'll make them fun, I promise. All right, any questions on the waiver? Okay. Recognition of groups, we have BCTV, thank you. Committee reports, finance, anything else finance wants to mention?
Nope, it was a pretty quick meeting. We don't have a clerk, but decided that was moved for now, so we'll move that on. But we just approved minutes, warrants, and payrolls up till the warrants that Frank distributed on May 22nd.
Okay. So moving on to warrants and payrolls, if someone would like to make a motion?
So moved.
So this is to ratify the warrants of March 13th and March 27th, April 10th and 24th, and May 8th, as well as to ratify the payrolls of March 1st, March 15th, March 29th, April 12th, and April 26th. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of ratifying the warrants and payroll, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. Unfinished business. Now we're moving on to our policy review. So it looks like we've got 3 sections. We've got some to adopt, some for second reading, and then some for first reading. So let's start with the ones to adopt, which are board member conflict of interest, health insurance portability, travel reimbursement, student alcohol and drugs, and Title I comparability policy. Someone like, can we do all these at once? Okay, someone like to make a motion to adopt these policies?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on all of these policies?
So, how did what Lyle just sent us about conflict of interest connect with this conflict of interest policy?
So, oh, go ahead.
My understanding is that we as a board, under statute, are required to adopt a conflict of interest policy, which is different from the code of ethics, that I think we, up until now, as individual boards have all signed. Does that make sense? Is that the gist of?
An individual board member had requested that we discuss it. I did go to Nicole Mace to make sure that we weren't doing anything we shouldn't be, or what her take on it was, and she said that the educational statutes dictate that we need to adopt an educational conflict of interest, which is the one that we have been reading.
Other questions? All right. If not, all those in favor of approving the adoption of the 5 policies, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. We're gonna make quick work of this. All right, next up is second reading of education records, student attendance, limited English proficiency, pupil privacy rights, and policy on the prevention of harassment, hazing, and bullying. Don't know if there was anything, oh, actually, you know what, I don't think, Sandy's typo on marital status disability got fixed. So we still have marital status disability.
In the harassment.
In the harassment. Section G. 4G. Unless maybe it was in 2 places and it got fixed somewhere else. Any questions on these? If you have board meetings with current boards between now and July 1st, you can take the second reading and then the new ones back to your full boards for review, comments.
I was asked to check about the word creed, and the recommendation is that we leave the word creed. Creed is what is used.
No questions? All right, so we'll consider those read a second time. So now we've got first reading on volunteers and work-study students, alcohol and drug-free workplace, policy on prevention of harassment of employees, transportation, and animal dissection.
So I want to go through and just point out some of the changes from the old policy to the new. Obviously, for volunteer work-study students, it will just be the date, and if in the very first paragraph, there is a strikeout, so it is further recognized that A is struck out, and it just, the sentence is appropriate supervision of volunteers and work-study students, etc. And then there's a group of procedures for that. D9, alcohol and drug-free. There is a strikeout in the very last paragraph. Struck out as including but not limited to, non-renewal, etc. So the sentence will read, in addition, an employee who violates the terms of this policy will be subject to disciplinary action. And then, of course, the change, there are some legal reference changes. Those are in bold down at the bottom of that policy, D9. D12, policy prevention of harassment of employees. If you go over to page 3 of 4, under filing a complaint, there are some strikeouts there. So it will be, employees are encouraged to report the alleged unlawful harassment as soon as possible to the non-discrimination coordinator or the principal. And just so that you know, every school has listed a non-discrimination coordinator. And then on page 404 of that one as well, the whole last paragraph is struck out. It will say confidentiality, witnesses, complainant, and the accused shall keep confidential matters related to the charge of unlawful harassment, and that's all in bold. In ours, there's an appendix A, and that does list for you all of the non-discrimination coordinators by site. It is the principal for WSESU, it's Marisa Duncan-Hawley, but otherwise it's the principal. And the SU-wide non-discrimination coordinator is Kate Margaitis, who is an assistant principal here. F12, there are a number of strikeouts. So all of the, it talks about 1, 2, 3, and 4. All of the numbers underneath that are struck out.
Is that just,
Well, I went through them all. So, for instance, number 1, the presence or absence of sidewalks or paths off the highway would be condition of the road or type of highway. So each one of those that's under there is somehow included in 1 through 4 up above. And you can all discuss this at your boards, and if you want them back, just say so. But this is just the first reading, so I'm just pointing out the changes for now. And then the last one is animal dissection, and there are no changes in animal dissection.
comments, questions?
Yeah.
I see, so Carol Ratty's listed as the principal, so that will be,
That'll change. That'll change, Oak Grove will change.
Russ?
Yeah, a general and a couple of specifics. One, are these all run by the principals? I mean, particularly transportation, the principals are so involved to make sure that okay. A thing on the confidentiality, you know, the on page 404. If somebody discloses what happens within there, is there some consequence to it? Is that covered elsewhere?
Generally, there's discipline for the employee who breaks confidentiality. Yes, it could be as much as unpaid suspension, a paid suspension, a letter in the personnel file. It depends on if it were more than once, I think it could possibly lead to termination.
And then the last question I had was on the first page, maybe, volunteer and work students. Why under the implementation policy, volunteers was struck, and so that these things only apply to work study students?
That is a good question. I believe we don't do it for volunteers.
Well, but it used to be done for volunteers?
No, we don't usually we don't ever have volunteers alone with students, and that's,
Oh, is that
That's
it?
the
Oh, so
That's the
volunteers are
law.
never alone with
Right.
students as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so it isn't loosening the standards for volunteers?
you know, they would be in a classroom, or they'd be on a field trip, they'd be with another adult.
But would you still want to have a policy banning certain people from being a volunteer, or not? I'm just wondering why it was struck. That's all.
Yeah. I don't know yet. It's something that I can talk with principals about.
So
It's-
these were recommendations from the
From the
From the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anything, I feel like we're trying to tighten up our policy around who we're checking on the abuse registry. I would like us to check all volunteers.
Is there a cost associated with doing these checks? Do you think that's why they struck that?
Possibly, if we're going to employ them as a new employee or as a substitute, there is a cost. There's the, a child sex offender registry that does not cost. We send all of our names through that in addition to having a background check. So it seems like that would not be an extra cost if we could just ran our volunteers through that.
But under the administrative procedures, I don't know if this helps. Under number 1, the second paragraph, if the position for which a volunteer is being recruited involves regular unsupervised contact with students, the principal will carry out a criminal records check on the final candidate in accordance with the district's employment policy. The district will pay the fees associated with criminal records check. So that, to me, seems like the tightening.
That we, yeah. And we do that if there's somebody that's going to be alone with kids. We have been talking about it because we send kids in cars to winter activities. In the past, we've not done any background checks on those people, as far as I know. They have to have insurance, but we have not done background checks. So that's something that we've been discussing.
So that sounds like it is a circumstance then when a volunteer would be the only adult alone with kids.
With kids, yeah, not a one-on-one situation.
Right, but no other adult presence than the volunteer. So that sounds like maybe it would be appropriate to have those people background checked.
Other questions? Okay.
I would urge you to talk with your boards about this, because this is one that I think we could tighten up, and I think everybody would feel more comfortable.
All right, so take them back to your boards. Next up, okay, discussion and nomination of SU's delegate to the Commission on Public School Health Benefits. So this came about basically because of the time frame in which we have an SU meeting. So this is the state has created a commission on public school employee health benefits. So they are meeting to negotiate the contract. If they get to a point where there is a contract to be ratified, every member of every SU gets a vote to do this. I don't know when that's gonna happen. They were hoping for, is August 1st the deadline, but it might not.
Well, we heard that there
It-
had been some stalls.
Yeah, they're having trouble figuring out who can actually sit in the room together. They haven't gotten beyond that. So if we can't figure out how many chairs to put in a room, this might take a while. But when I got this email, I threw my name in just to protect a slot. So right now, they've got my name. We can either, if someone's dying to do this and be the person, anyone really know healthcare or health benefits? Or we could also table this until the 5-member SU board meets and just make sure this gets put on an agenda. Because we will have new players, sort of finance committee wise, how are we gonna handle this?
Make a motion to appoint Carrie Hammond as the member of the healthcare negotiating board unless and until another member is elected from the new 5-member board.
Second. Sounds good. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So we are good there. Year 2 of 5-year mutual agreement. So we are looking for a motion to approve a food service management contract with Cafe Services for FY 2020, year 2 of a 5-year mutual agreement to manage child nutrition programs to the Wyndham Southeast School District and Vernon Town School District. Someone like to make that motion?
Okay, yeah, make a motion.
Oh.
Well, we have to talk.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Putney, who is not managed by Cafe Services, are we trying to push Putney into Cafe Services?
No, so no change from the bid, which
Okay.
the bid was a year ago, supervisory union
Yeah.
approved that. Under the current configuration, this simply renews the bid from the prior year.
Just checking.
Yep. And boards can have a renewal process for a series of 5 years, and then it has to be a completely new bid process. No change, no.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Moving along, personnel updates.
So we've had a number of resignations that I need to bring to you for approval, I guess. Katie Hansen, Veronica Sampson, Todd Bell, and Sarah Kolakowski, I said it right, have all either decided to leave the area or leave education entirely. So I would ask for a motion to accept these resignations.
Lyle, did you say what those people's roles were?
Let's see, Katie Hansen, special education, Veronica Sampson, special education, Todd Bell, special education, and Sarah Kolakowski is a speech language pathologist.
Someone want to make the motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right, all those in favor of accepting?
Could I just ask a question? Is that typical that we would have so many special ed people leaving in a single year?
I'll turn it over to special ed.
Yes, actually, it's usually around 4 or 5 people that leave. And there were actually a couple that you
I
didn't have on your list.
Okay.
Can I say them now? Okay. The other ones were Ashley Hayes, who was an intensive case manager at Academy, and Monique Antaya, who was the BCBA at Academy School. Is that everybody?
All right, all those,
Well, should the motion be amended?
yeah, do we want to amend
With the additional.
with the additional names?
I move that we add the additional names to the original amendment and move the amended.
Is there a
Motion.
second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
So that was the special ed portion. We have a resignation in Julianne Egan. She has taken a position elsewhere in WSCSU. So I would ask that you accept that resignation.
I accept that. Finally, a resignation I can get behind. Godspeed, Julianne.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And now we have a couple of hiring updates. We've replaced a few of them, so I'll turn it over to Paul first. Sure. We'll hand these out. We'll need these back at the end.
Send them that way. I am very sad to say that Julianne is leaving the curriculum office. However, I am extremely happy to inform you that we have found a truly excellent candidate in Deb Cardane, currently working at Academy School, also adjunct professor at Antioch, New England, running their internship program in Brattleboro Town Schools. Lots of history in the district. She's just about completed her doctoral degree. She is really excellent. I'm so glad that we were able to convince her to come to the curriculum office. It was 3 folks in the pool, very strong pool, but Deb came out as the person we wanted.
So we'll need a motion.
Motion to accept?
I move that we accept the recommendation to hire Deb Cardane as the WSESU Curriculum Coordinator.
Second.
Any other questions for Paul or Lyle? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
We also have some special education items.
So in special education, we have one new hire for a special education teacher. That candidate's name is Vicky Caruso. Vicky actually worked for us, I believe it was about 7 years ago, and then left to pursue other things, but now we're very lucky that she is wanting to come back and work with us and our students. She's replacing Veronica Sampson, who resigned during the year at Green Street School. She has 22 years of experience working as a special education teacher, and her college background is at the College of New Jersey. She got her graduate degree from the University of Vermont. She actually was a teaching assistant when I was getting my graduate degree at UVM. She's a very knowledgeable, likable, warm person, and it's a really, I think that Green Street is, she worked at Green Street previously, and so they're very thrilled and happy to have her back. And out of that pool, we had a pool of 9 for 2 positions, and as you can see, we do still have quite a few vacancies in special education as well. So we're lucky to have Vicky aboard.
Okay, another,
Yeah, we'll do both together.
okay, another person, actually, we didn't mention him,
Another resignation.
that resigned was Malcolm Pradia. He has been a social worker for BUHS number 6 in our transition service for the past 3 years. Losing him is a loss. He's a great social worker. We had 3 applicants for the position, 2 were interviewed, and we have hired Leanna Moskowski. Mokowitz. So she'll replace Malcolm in that position. She has 4 years' experience in school-based social work. Her college background is an undergraduate from Yale and a master's from Bryn Mawr College. And as you can see below, we have several open positions yet. The 2 positions at Academy are for Jane Gavin and Kitty Hansen. And we have 1 position at the high school for Todd Bell. Intensive case managers, we have 2 positions, 1 at Oak Grove, 1 at Academy. And then the step behavior interventionist, 1 at Academy. And the speech language pathologist is a Wyndham Southeast position shared, and that position is still open.
All right, so we need a motion to hire Vicky and Leanna.
Correct.
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, do we need to go back to Malcolm?
Yes.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Malcolm Pradia?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, are we all cleaned up now?
I think we're cleaned up.
That's everybody.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just had a question. What, did you get the resignations in the time that you would normally expect to get them, or are they later than you know what I mean? Like when would you, I understand people can resign at it.
Anytime, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them we did, like Veronica in the fall,
Mhm.
Jane Gavin in the winter. Malcolm was fairly recent. Ashley Haynes recently had a child, decided to stay home or move back to be near her family. So it's like,
Yeah.
there's no predicting really.
And have the positions that are vacant been advertised already?
most of them. This, with the speech language pathologist, that was like 2 days ago, right?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
very recent.
Yep.
I did want to give you an update on the diversity position. Remember, we approved a .5 FTE new diversity position. We have done interviews. We have started some class lessons, demonstration lessons, and meeting with teams of teachers. We still have one meeting that Michaela and I are still trying to set up. Michaela Sims, sorry, current diversity coordinator, Robin Morgan, and Amy Levesque, second grade teacher in Putney, and Kate Margaitis, assistant principal here, were on the original team. We've been doing classroom lessons in Amy Levesque's room in Putney. We still have one to meet with, which we're trying to do next week. A couple of them are coming from afar, so it's taking us a little bit longer. However, we have some excellent candidates, so we hope to be making that choice soon.
Questions?
I just have a question about that, Lyle. If I don't think this board is meeting again before the school year starts, how do we hire that person?
So that's what the next agenda item is.
Okay.
So summer hiring,
Summer
and permission
hiring.
for summer hiring.
Right. So as you can tell, we have a lot of special ed positions still open that we need to hire, and the diversity. So I am asking you to have permission to make those hires, make those offers. There are very few special ed applications at this point, and when we get a diversity person, we want to be able to jump on that and offer that as soon as we have a good one. So we would ask permission to have to hire over the summer when we get the candidates that we need.
Is this limited to these special ed openings and diversity?
Diversity, there's no more for you, so that would be it. The only other thing that falls under WSESU is ELL, and I don't anticipate any ELL openings.
Okay.
And actually, if we do have an opening, there was a rift, so we would need to invite that person back before we would be able to open that anyway.
Okay. So is someone comfortable making a motion giving Lyle permission to hire for open special ed positions as well as the .5 diversity?
No, just diversity and special.
So moved.
SLP.
I'm sorry, I was grouping that with special ed.
Yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is there any possibility that other positions would come open that we don't know about yet, that we should include in the motion?
ELL, there could be, but like classroom teachers would be now on probably to the merged board. Principals would be onto the merged board. So these are the only positions that fall under WSESU.
You don't think it makes sense to give you any open WSCSU positions that you fill in the summer?
That would be great. I mean, really appreciate these, I'll probably really be upset about. Yeah, but, I mean, central office, admin positions fall under that. I don't expect that Paul's going to leave.
You get hit by a bus?
Let's hope not. I don't expect the two stuff, but yes, that would make sense.
So it just comes down, do we want to keep it as narrow, or what's your
If I
pleasure?
can just ask a question. I mean, I should remember because I've been on the finance committee forever, but are there summer meetings of the finance committee? Would there be summer meetings of the finance committee or the SU committee, however it's going to be formed, during the course of the year? I mean, I'm just wondering.
I mean, it's
I'm thinking of the BUHS model, which is maybe closer to what the SD will be like, is where we have different committees. So the teacher curriculum committee has authority to approve those hires. The BAMS committee has approval to hire the BAMS people and that sort of thing. And the finance committee has, authority to take action. do we have any idea what the SU, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with giving you a carte blanche because it's such a short time and so nebulous, but I'm just curious as to.
Well, I think given that the SU is going to reorganize and define itself.
Anytime after July 1st, I think.
Yeah, but we don't know at this moment what that will become. It probably is a good idea to expand flexibility, but historically, the SU Finance Committee has met generally once, maybe twice in the summer. And often it is because they've been delegated authority to act on behalf of the board.
I mean, if there's the contract, with the solar and other things, that we call special meetings to look at that. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think in the flux, giving Lyle the flexibility to do it seems like a good idea.
I move that we authorize Lyle to hire for the special ed positions, the diversity coordinator position, and any other SU level positions as needed during the summer.
We already had a motion on the table.
Oh, we did?
Yes, there was a motion on the table.
Okay.
Oh,
We hadn't
I'm
voted
sorry.
on it.
Okay, I missed
Do we
that.
want to amend the motion?
Yeah,
to
I would like
include-
to amend that to include any SU level hires as needed.
All right, so now let's vote on the amendment. Oh, is there a second? On the amendment? Okay. So let's vote on the amendment to the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Opposed.
Okay. Oh, you're opposed? Okay. Anybody else? All right, so now we're voting on the full motion. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions?
Opposed.
All right. Is that what you needed for summer hiring?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, thank you.
And so now we're down to other. Any other business? I guess this is it. Thank you for the shortest tenure of a SU chair, and to my great vice chair and clerk. It was a rough 2 meetings, but hey. All right,
If I
I
could
would,
just sort of, I mean, this is really it. I mean, we're gonna be morphing into something sort of like this, but with fewer people. And, over the last couple of years have been a little different than years before, but I've been on this board off and on for 15, 16 years. And the cooperation among the towns and the unified vision for what we looked at was always a hallmark of that, just as in the Brattleboro Town Board, where we looked at, the 3 schools and EES and worked together. And then at the high school, where all 5 towns are represented. That I think it's been a pleasure serving on these boards, but it goes to all of you and to the administration for being here so long and working so hard and so cooperatively. So I'd like to thank you all.
so I would recommend, as much as there will only be 5 people at the table, I hope there's the same number of people in the room. So if you can keep showing up, I think everyone's going to need all the expertise we can get. So,
I would add a friendly amendment to that because as we sat in the 8-person board, which, that may change, but there's a lot to be done, and I think this, 4/5 of the SU is going to be very stressed. And you can use any help we can get from people who've been following this to step up. And I'm wondering if it's possible to split the Vernon vote between 2 people. 1 vote to have 2 people at the table so that we can keep Walter and Karen and not have either of them retire because they're so fabulous. So I'm just throwing that out there for consideration.
Walter and I both hide. Any other business? All right. Favorite motion?
So moved.
We are adjourning at 6:41. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right.